So you'll see the next two presentations look like they're together. I'm not sure quite how they work together, but obviously the team themselves, they'll know how to work it because they will demonstrate perfect teamwork and communication, and it will go fantastically. So this is talking about building a positive team in the perioperative unit, and the first speaker is Liz Browne, and I'm used to sort of acronyms to describe people like CNA or NUM or something like that, but Liz is the ACN MPFC, Assistant Clinical Nurse Manager Patient Flow Coordinator at the hut. So Liz, come and talk to us. Thank you.
We are actually presenting together. I'll let Janine introduce herself. I am Liz. I currently am I'm the ACNM of Patient Flow, which basically means that I run the floor or coordinate. However, I've been in the operating theatre at Hut for 15 and a half years, which makes me feel very old saying that, and I've held a number of different roles over the years.
And I'm Janine Gunn. I'm the Clinical Nurse Manager of more acronyms, PACU, day surgery, surgical admissions, and acute pain management. And I've had previous roles in theatre as well, and I'm not going to tell you how long I've worked there. Previously I was the charge technician, and I've worked in theatre for a long time. Okay. We're going to try and keep this brief and informal. There's a bit of background about our unit. The perioperative service includes the 8 operating theatres, the day surgery unit, surgical admissions, PACU, pain management, and CSSD. We've just over 100 staff, not including any of the medical team or CSSD, so we're a very large team. We moved into our newly built unit in September 2011.
It's interesting that Professor Coe talked a lot about culture, because a lot of our talk today is going to be about the culture in our department and some of the things we've done. And you know, we're going to acknowledge some of the not so good stuff as well as some of the good stuff that we've done. So I'm sure everyone knows about TPOT, but we had a TPOT staff survey and a subsequent HR investigation in 2011 and 2012 that identified that we had very poor morale in our department. We had an incidence of bullying, high turnover, and generally an unhealthy workplace environment within our service. So this was very concerning for our leadership team. We were worried that the negative work environment would influence the way that people communicated and put us at risk of a sentinel event, as communication is often linked with morale. So the HR report had one sentence by our coup at the time that struck a chord with us, and he said that the intent of the report was to inspire a collaborative approach to creating a positive practice environment. And so we set to work as a team to transform our department, and here are some of the key things that we did over the years to try and turn our team around and make our working environment positive and healthy with good communication and teamwork.
We created an Employee of the Month award. A nomination box sits in our tea room, and anyone can nominate a colleague. They have to put the reason for the nomination, and all staff that receive a nomination, that are nominated, receive a letter acknowledging the nomination and thanking them for their contribution to the department. The person with the most nominations or the most outstanding nomination is awarded Employee of the Month. They receive a certificate for their portfolio stating the reason for the nomination and also a box of chocolates. Each month at our education afternoon, we have a presentation of the award and letters for all the nominated staff. This is usually accompanied by cheering and clapping from the wider team, and on an average we receive 8 to 10 nominations a month.
We decided that we needed to communicate much better with our team, and so we started a monthly newsletter called the Hut Hot News, which stands for Hut Operating Theatre News, which we thought was kind of cool. But this probably seems like quite a simple step, but it's just another way of communicating to the team so that everyone knows what's happening. And it gives us a venue to praise staff achievements, such as completing post-grad study or gaining a proficient portfolio. We always use the newsletter to welcome new staff or farewell those leaving us, and to acknowledge life events such as the birth of a child or a marriage. We do include any departmental changes or issues that need to be communicated to the team. that staff need to be aware of. We also include departmental data, like our cancellation rates and late finishes and updated policies and theatre utilisation. And so while we've got a bit of that serious stuff, having some of the more fun stuff actually encourages people to read the newsletter as a whole, and so we felt that we were capturing a lot of people that wouldn't normally read housekeeping notes by putting out these newsletters.
At the same time, we also reviewed how we did the surgical safety checklist and introduced briefings and debriefings for all lists. The benefits of briefings include improved teamwork, improved safety, more near misses are captured, smoother, quicker procedures, and improved staff morale. We've now had briefings in place for 3 years. The staff are able to identify how briefings have been beneficial for the department. For example, we had CAPEX approved for a second image intensifier after the debriefing data showed us that there were multiple occasions where theatre was delayed due to II availability. We've also noticed that junior staff seem much more comfortable speaking up within the multidisciplinary team since briefings have started. And feedback from locum staff is that they have greatly appreciated the communication that occurs at briefings and the strong focus on safety that the briefings promote. Effective communications makes staff feel that like they are part of the conversation and that they are appreciated.
This might seem a little bit odd, but we ran a team building workshop and we called it the NICE workshop, which was where we acknowledged that we weren't in a good place and talked about where we wanted to go. So after we had the HR review and the teapot survey, we, after a year or so of introducing a few things, we followed that up with some rounding interviews where staff were interviewed and we identified that while the morale was greatly improved, there were still some avoidable situations that were occurring that left staff feeling bad at the end of the day. We ran the workshop for 3 hours on our first half-day education session of the year, and we actually took the whole team out of the department to our auditorium, split them into teams where we mixed up people from different areas so that it wasn't all anaesthetic techs at a table or CSSD, so we mixed everyone up and got to work with doing what we wanted to do at that.
At the workshop, we educated staff on how to give and receive feedback appropriately, giving them tools for better communication. We talked about how giving and receiving feedback is a key part of development as a health professional, and we felt that this was vital that the workplace provide an environment that embraced both informal and formal feedback opportunities. Appropriate feedback contains the key elements shown in this slide.
We also talked to the staff about what is and isn't acceptable in terms of communicating and how the way that a message is delivered can be misconstrued. And so to coincide with the running of the workshop, we put a number of different posters around the department, and this is an example of one of the posters that we put up, just reminding staff to think before they speak.
During the workshop, we ran team activities to encourage discussion and working together. We reinforced the DHB values, focusing on value 3, which is trust, respect, honesty, integrity, and openness. We talked about how this could be demonstrated. We wanted to have fun together and do team building at the same time as reminding staff about how they behave and what they say can affect others. The workshop was very positively received by all who attended. In fact, a large number stayed behind at the end to discuss what had been presented. The benefits of the workshop became apparent immediately as staff referred to being nice and showed appreciation and concern for their colleagues. Following the success of this workshop, we made the decision to run some sort of team building workshop or activity every January to set the tone for the year. This year we had a very successful pub quiz where each specialty had a round where they could remind staff of best practice, and it wasn't held at a pub.
So what have we learnt over the last few years? The biggest thing I think is that you can't talk about something once and expect it to be fixed forever. The leadership team need to be reinforcing messages on a daily basis So, for example, the briefing is important. So we still are continually talking to staff about the importance of briefing, because I think if you stop talking about something, people think it's not important anymore. Staff respond differently to various forms of communication. So you'll also always get your message to more people if you use multiple ways to communicate. So, for example, email, communication book, notices, posters, discussion at staff meetings and intranet. It's always good to have staff on board who act as champions to help keep focus on goals. And I think the biggest thing that we've learnt is how much our efforts to improve communication have improved staff morale, or culture as Professor Coe called it, and that communication and morale go hand in hand.
Overall, our perioperative unit is now a happy place. We are lucky enough to have a fantastic group of staff working in the department. We have a great leadership team who value teamwork and communication and who focus on providing a positive work environment. So this is a photo of our amazing team at a recent afternoon tea when we farewelled one of our staff members that was moving overseas.
Or some of our team anyway.
Now, are there any questions? I have one for starters anyway, and that is, I was wondering when you had up Employee of the Month whether any of the surgeons had ever been Employee of the Month, and how you dealt with the slightly blokey culture we have in New Zealand where people are shy of publicity. They wouldn't actually want to be Employee of the Month or on a board or whatever. So how did you deal with that issue?
We talked about it being such a positive thing and made such a big deal of presenting it and clapping for people, and people would get encouragement and congratulations, that I don't think we've sort of run into the problem where no one's wanted to be it. We do have surgeons getting nominated and anaesthetists. We haven't ever had them as Employee of the Month because they've never tended to have more than one nomination a month. But we also...
You got to get lucky sometime.
We do. So they also